Good morning. I welcome you all in today's very holistic program. I, Dr. Manish Mandal, Deputy Director of Indira Gandhi Institute of Medical Sciences, Shekhpura, Patna, and ex-President of St. Michael's Alumni Association and today's moderator, have the privilege of introducing to you Professor Dr. Sanjay Shrivastava. He was Director NIFT Patna from 2012 till Jan 2023 this year. He was also the Director NIFT Bhubaneswar in additional charge from February 2017 to March 2019. He was the Chairperson of Fashion Design Department July 2012 to 2013. Sanjay Shrivastava hails from a small village of Kamalpur in Gopalganj district of Bihar. His journey is till now 55 years, and he has great harmonic journey which resonates an orchestra of challenges championed by charismatically. He joined St. Michael's in year 1981 in class 9. Before that, he was undergoing his schooling at St. Xavier's, Hazaribagh, which was then Bihar, now Jharkhand. He did his +2 in commerce. He claims he is only Michaelite who would have lived possibly all roles that one can do at Michael's. That is, as student, as teacher, as PTA from Parents Doctor Association from teacher's side, as a proud alumni, as the President of the Alumni Association from 2014 to 2015, and invited chief guest at various programs of St. Michael's Alumni Association, and as a proud parents also. He has 27 years of progressive responsibilities and operational leadership experience in India's top academic organization, imparting education in fashion design, management technology in NIFT. He joined NIFT Hyderabad in 1996 as assistant professor. He was one of the 6 faculty members who steered NIFT Hyderabad during the initial 5 years. He has been the course coordinator of various programs at NIFT. He was instrumental in contributing to a number of activities and various projects. He was transferred to NIFT Patna in June 2008. So, Bihar got its evolving man in the era of fashion technology in Bihar in 2008. As professor, he was the first person to walk into the space which was given as a temporary campus for NIFT to be started. So he started scratch about NIFT in Bihar. All the arrangements from the academic to hostel arrangements was done by him. There were 2 departments and 3 faculty members. The milestone was that he was, and within 20 days, he made it operational. The first batch of NIFT pulled up tabloid of Department of Industries for the 25th August parade. NIFT Patna was there as these 54 students moved to the tabloid representing various aspects of fashion trade. From then to today, NIFT Patna is everywhere on the list of top 10 fashion institutions of India or in the special cover released by Postal Department. From being a counter faculty member of NIFT Hyderabad to become the anchor academic resource person of NIFT Patna, the appointment to head the institute as director was something which he had never thought of. He had all freedom to take the campus to all levels of excellence, and soon NIFT Patna became a buzzword. Industry was looking for it, and with the tremendous support of the government, NIFT Patna was there as a design institute helping to shape design elements needed for its various ventures. The academic responsibilities of being the national head as chairperson of fashion design department was given to him, and with the charge of director NIFT Patna. During the period, getting an invitation to deliver a keynote address at the Indian Fashion Forum 2023 to 2013 is still the most unforgettable moment in his life. He has worked together getting prestigious government projects and revival of Bihar Khadi. He has been instrumental in certain key activities of the government of Bihar like road ambulance design, Patna Museum, signage showcasing Bihar Handloom at Siri Fort, New Delhi during Bihar Divas, and during the IITF in Pragati Maidan in 2013, 14 and 15, 3 consecutive years together. He was one of the key persons who worked to bring Goenka NIFT design contest in 2013. He is one of the contributors who have come out with first intellectual property derived manuals for fashion industry and NIFT international publications also. He has been faculty guide to many graduation research linked to apparel industry and has been many papers to his credit. He has delivered on the platform for quick and effective change and improvement with keys addressed in visualization, designing, executing business process, re-engineering in sync with the global requirement in fashion technology. And also as a keynote person in various capacities at many more such platforms from time to time. He has been keynote and invited speaker to the likes of Mumbai University, other national universities, forums and conferences nationally and internationally. He was represented and debuted as the keynote speaker from NIFT and India at the WELF, that is World Educator Leader Forum at Busan, Korea in 2016. He was presented at various world coordinates in Shanghai, Singapore, California, and today he is proud to be associated with all of them. The responsibility of additional charge of trade at Bhubaneswar was given to him in February 2017. So he thought it was a Valentine's Day gift to him on that day. Managing 2 campuses geographically not well connected was a very big challenge for him, but he took up the challenge and he made it what he dreamt of. Under his leadership, Patna was coverage champion in 2015 and Bhubaneswar was the coverage champion in 2018. Earlier as a faculty, he had been a nodal officer of NIFT for international linkage for the university at USA and Canada. Being instrumental in building NIFT relationship with international schools and in the process facilitating 16 students of NIFT Patna to do a semester university abroad has been his feather cap in his life. He has choreographed shows of NIFT with Indian top models. He has done shows with India top models showcasing for NIFT, ISB Hyderabad, Sama Surat, Bihar government, APCO and others. He was repeatedly produced sustained human resource capable for supporting the dynamic and changing market of apparel trade. He has championed creative pursuits of students and a score of students under the umbrella of the program which he has coordinated and have won prestigious national and international awards. He has to his credit a doctorate degree also, 3 master degrees, 2 postgraduate diploma ranging from university topper in the commerce from Patna University to master's degree in rural development and postgraduate degree in human rights also. He has also earned postgraduate diploma degree in computer application and IPR. He has written a number of papers. His recent contribution in the form of books published by Relay Publication of USA. He has been instrumental in getting NIFT Patna special postal cover released by Indian Postal Department Telegraph Department. He has positioned NIFT Patna on the global map by leading his students through world skills and numerous national and international competitions. Doing for NIFT Patna and taking it to numerous recognitions has been his motto from the last 14 years. He was the first employee of NIFT to have been deputed for NIFT Patna. With the experience of being behind the scene for setting up NIFT Hyderabad to being right at helm of the affairs for setting up NIFT Patna and placing it within the top 10 fashion institutes of the last 6 consecutive years, he says he has lived NIFT every day. And it's right. He carries with him a huge association with alumni and has completed 27 wonderful years in the NIFT. He will have this unique tag of being the only faculty member who has served as a director for the longest period in history of NIFT. With this, I present Dr. Sanjay Shrivastava.
For the long list of achievements that you have shared about me with the audience gathered here. Good afternoon, good morning. I think we are still in the morning first half. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor. I'm humbled, honored, and happy to be here today to address and talk about something which we have time and again been addressing in forums as citizens of India or as academicians in India at various levels of institutions. The kind of association that we are going to talk about in understanding the topic that has been shared with me to deliberate upon, New India for Young India, Decade of Opportunities. And this is such a large topic in the kind of a canvas that it tries to cover. Would be difficult to actually place it within the short span of 30 to 40 minutes, but I'll try to key point and pinpoint the areas which we all together have to ponder upon in times to come, and to understand how the generation Z and the Alpha, which is coming up very strongly in terms of how the digital medium is impacting their growing years and the nascent stage. So with these introductory lines, I would take on to my slides to guide you through the presentation that I have tried to do to share the thoughts that should be giving you a small dimension to understand how we all should be collaborating together to talk about something which Utpal said in the session before, the technical aspects. And knowing that Utpal would be there to talk about the technical aspects, I have avoided a lot of the technical aspects in my presentation on what I'm going to cover. So I'll be talking more on how India as a country, or how we all as a country should be taking up the challenges to understand the merits and demerits of what the technology is going to give us. So we all of us did go through the 2 years of pandemic, and we did understand everybody is going to relate with the pandemic, the digital part, because one thing that pandemic did, apart from taking the close family members from us, was to connect each one of us digitally, and we all got to understand how do we really do the video call, how do we give the chat, how do we really link with each other in times to come, and how do we comfort people in isolation. So I think the COVID did give us a lot of learning. Each one of us really had to adopt and adapt it to the precision that the survival was the technology that we were with them in isolation, the mobile phone and the connectivity and the applications that we could do with our mobile and its apps. So probably pandemic did give us that kind of a virtue of wisdom of why technology is going to be there for all of us, and we need to really gear up to understand that. I did, when Manish was reading my small detailing, I would like to share here, at Michael's, I had the opportunity to trigger off my part-time career because I wanted to get into academics day one as information technology faculty, and the Department of Information Technology and Computer Science, as we may call it today, we were one of the first faculty members there. So from the basic and the COBOL that we taught to people, and these students who are there now at NASA and everywhere, it's such a proud moment to understand the transformation that the technology has governed them to shape their careers. And when they give us a call even today, whether that basic and COBOL has changed the dimensions in terms of understanding how the technology is going to really impact even today. We never thought 30 years back that basic and COBOL will not be there and be something else that we're going to talk about. So a lot of aspiration that we have come here today with is to also understand what is the unseen part of the technology that we are not even sure of, how it is going to really put us there, and do we really look at the mirror of technology every time and say, what do I change now, what do I do adopt now? So there's a lot of questions, ifs and buts. The challenges will be there as the generation gap will understand. As we grow old, I think that the information technology and the technology is going to really come in a big way. So my background statements I've just mentioned in the slide. Those who are able to see, refer the slides, or otherwise, I'll just take a quick note of that, because these are something which I wanted to take around. The bit and byte industry today lag behind in many Indian states, and that's a very critical question though the technology is improving everywhere, but we as in India, when we look at the length and breadth, the mobile has integrated. There was a question in terms of understanding how the telecommunication is not being that effective in the different corners of the country. So if certain things and certain infrastructure is not there, how do we really understand about the dynamics of how the opportunity of employment will come forward if we are really not doing it? So, and it's a very common cited development indices, and it's an undisputed fact. I think we all understand. Even if you look at the state or we look at neighboring states, we're still too behind of what the other states or outside India things are being done. There's also a little argument over the fact that today the IT industry holds the key to the India's overall development. It is an undisputable fact, and that India is blessed with one of the best in terms of excellent human resource that we have, and we have people coming in and going out, and the brain drain story continues with that kind of a thing. Talking about India's development, one hears a lot about resource crunch, our capacity, scarcity, and that's one thing which I think all of us have to really understand, whether we are from a different academic blocks. How do we really address the issues of the changing dynamics, and how do we equip our students or equip the new generation to adopt and adapt the basic dynamics? And that is where the employment will come automatically, whether it is on your own or it is being offered by someone else. We in India, we being very agro-based city and agro-based country, so we cannot deny the fact that agriculture will be there. So even the integration of technology into agriculture, we have seen in Punjab adapting it to the technology so well, and the spray of seeds happening and the selection of seeds happening through the integration of applications. I mean, that's something fantastic that we can really visualize about. How do we ensure the right kind of harvest happening to serve the right type of population? That's something which we would never imagine some 20 years back. And there's a lot of integration which is happening across the globe, and every read that we do through the different pages of the sources that we see in the media or social media, I think every time we get certain thing which is popping up from various corners of the earth, and we say that, oh, this is something which is already there and we are not aware. What do we do? So something that is going to be there, and I think we have to have these on our sleeves to really address it. I mean, we cannot avoid, and avoidance is no longer a bliss at this kind of a situation. So, I'm using the word hashtag IT India, and hashtag is something which we are now, something which we are associated with. Hashtag is a new word, a keyword, which we are trying to popularize, something which we want to write. So hashtag IT has to be there at different corners of the country, and with everybody that we speak, talk, understand, and how do we move into it. So what we have done is we've tried to understand the technology segment is also in a time of transformation. We are seeing the number of people who are coming inside this and moving out of it. We had, when we look back into our years, those who are 40, 50 years would understand about the IT bust and the Google bust and whatever, the bubble bust, and then we are talking about coming back to it again in such a strong, multifaceted ways. It's going to be really a challenge. So the number of people that is entering is growing, but we really have to understand whether the growth of these new entrants is in the right direction for a sustainable long-term employment opportunities. Employment opportunities are changing. We just heard yesterday, I'm looking from the papers, Bihar government has announced the recruitment of 720 IT faculties for the different schools in villages. I mean, is that a move by the government, which indicates also the kind of understanding of new employment opportunities that they want to even plug in from the schools which are located in our villages or small towns, which is not so exposed to a certain amount of deliberation that we keep on doing at different platforms, being into the blessed with the kind of an opportunity that we get to move around. We also need every segment in India, every state, it's a lot of decoding, coding, not in terms of understanding the computer principles, but in terms of understanding how do we really train our students right from the basic, right from the first standard, second standard, third standard, or whatever. How do we really tell them that this is your new world and you need, it's no longer, the vowels have changed. The vowels the vowels of the English alphabet is no longer important. You need to understand the vowels of the different digital platforms to really integrate it with your the future perception that you want to take yourself with. So the importance of these influences in India 2023 and beyond is going to grow significantly. And in the next decade, we are all going to see how things are going to see. We will witness sitting in our corners. I look back at your home during COVID time, a grandfather asking a grandson, how do I really do WhatsApp? Or how do I really look into it? That's something very interesting, a story to make people understand that a 70, 80-year-old gentleman or a grandfather, grandmother was more interested with a phone which has only press buttons because we thought it was convenient for them to use, but their inclination to understand how do I really do a video call. That's the change, that's the human mind talking about technology at any age, and that will indicate a lot of opportunities in terms of employment that will come forward. The whole question of whether the employment will decrease worldwide, maybe yes, but if I look at India as an opportunity, I think it's a huge opportunity and we all have to really plug and play in the right direction, in the right aspect. So it will be, the changes are triggered and we are directly or indirectly, we have to really look at the infrastructure. Everything will require infrastructure because it's not a storytelling which can go across on a platform. Look, a small dynamics today from the field that I come from in terms of opportunity and in terms of how the things have changed. Way back in 1995-96, we had no mobiles with us to understand what goes in. A design industry where a designer or somebody, or we are all wearing different garments here and we have tried to understand how do we look. And everybody has their own specifications of body type. I want to take a small case study here to just to understand, make you understand the implications of technology even in the fashion industry, so that if fashion industry is impacted, the health, the education, the other industries which are more essential will definitely get affected. And hence the employment will definitely move forward. Today in the industry that we operate upon, you may have understood that there are certain, the potato chips is delivered to you which are not hand touched. Fine. But you know the transformation of such exercises have been into the plants of the garment apparel trade. You will have industries, you have industries in India and Sri Lanka and in Asian countries now very well, where your denims are manufactured without an interface or hand touch by the human until the final repeat of the button is done. Entire process is mechanized, robotized, but it requires a lot of supervision, and hence the kind of a concept that it will reduce the employment, it will increase the final employment, which people have to really associate themselves with. Today, the previous speaker was talking about 3D printers. When we do accessories or we do a product based on the ergonomic value of the product in terms of human dynamics and the body anatomy, it's very easy for doing it in India today and transferring it to a 3D printer, somebody who's a market in US, and then getting a confirmation to get a production done here. So a startup which talks about doing a design per se in terms of transferring a 3D perspective across the globe and getting it back, it's such an interesting dynamics. And when we first experienced it ourselves, when we had the 3D printers into our campuses and then we found these kind of things happening so easily and so seamlessly, it was such an interesting journey to understand how IT applications can really not only excite newer employments but also build up new employments, because somebody is doing the 3D printer. We are not talking about beyond the periphery. If we see somebody is doing the infrastructure to support the technology. So there is something which is happening there. So the periphery is also to be also understood in terms of taking the whole dynamics of the opportunities that we have. So that was the focus here. We have influences. If you look at it, the tradition, India is basically looked as a traditional country with a lot of religious flavor and fervor. And we still don't have that kind of a clear mandate across the globe in understanding whether it's a developed nation or undeveloped nation or still very IT savvy. But I think a lot of perspectives is being changed because of the way that we have taken up the competition, the way we have sustained ourselves, the way we as governments have really understood the ifs and buts of the entire mechanism and tried to plug it with the policies that they are trying to impart in today's functioning of the country at various levels. We are also talking about the special needs, which is very much important because there is a lot of super specialization coming in across the globe. Within India, for every aspect that we do, there's so much of super specialization happening, and for every super specialization is possible because of the kind of integration of technology that's happening. Because if you do not have that depth of understanding that next is what till the micro of that object, we were still operating at the macro level, but now today the things have changed to the micro aspect, and hence there are more people thinking on those things and the critical application or the creative application of the thought that this will suit you and your requirement and this will help you. Look at the vehicles that we drive today, how much it has been transformed. We know the driving has become so easy with a small application which is already there with everyone. So you're not lost anymore. So something which is very important to you to understand that you're not lost anymore on the way to some other journey. So the whole question is that India is getting up for that bigger journey, and I think I strongly support in terms of understanding that yes, the youth and the Gen Z and Alpha has to really integrate for a better opportunity in terms of understanding. That special needs for me. Branding of the country has changed over the period of years. With G20 coming to India, I think a lot of aspirations, which is most on technology, is also being pinned and coined at various platforms across the nation as we celebrate the entire year at various spectrum. And infrastructure, of course, we have to build up. We have to build it very judiciously, understanding the green environment, the carbon footprints, understanding whether we are not damaging the planet. And yes, all these aspects will come in. So the kind of, we are at a stage where we are not that high, we are not that below, and we can really integrate what's the best from the world and take the best practices and come forward to really deploy it for better employment opportunities. So, and because of this, there's a lot of digi opportunity which is happening. You are getting so much of freelancing happening. We have heard at times when I go to a Shark Tank, the serial or what is coming up on the television, and there's somebody who says that I'm 9th standard, I'm not cleared my exam, but I want to do this application because I was more into the coding and the decoding aspect of the entire technology. So what is happening, the technology has brought a lot of learning also within the four walls of your home. And that also is exciting as a moment to understand that you may need to go into the dynamics of understanding the entire length and breadth of the specialization that you want to do. But then if you don't want to do, there are other elements which can really trigger off employment within sitting at home. So I think a lot of parents have to really get that wider spectrum of understanding that it's not always the regular teaching mechanism that is going to fulfill the desire of your child or the people that we know. It could be something else which is amply supported by the word technology everywhere. So big opportunity there. Growth drivers we already have. We have very strong presence in the world. We have a very favorable dynamics to support and adapt and adopt any kind of changes that is happening across the globe. And India is a place which has its own dynamics today. Population which was told as a burden when we were more of agriculture as a nation, but today the same population is serving a lot of nations to build up things. A small example of how a lot of people can go. We are coming from industry which talks about creativity, craft, museum and other things. Just to share, I hope some of you will be aware of the fact that if I have to understand today why M.F. Hussain, the artist, has painted certain things and what was the background behind it, I can have an M.F. Hussain 3D image and talking to me virtually to explain why and how it was happening. Look at the experience. We do not lose people who are also, and this is one example, citing one example, tomorrow it looks very difficult to understand that people who have left the earth for the next generation can also be visualized in 3D, and you can talk when you're not having. So somebody was talking about the emotional quotient. There's a lot of the IT segment, the tech can always solve a lot of this because you may not be left alone. You can always live digitally with somebody who is not there physically with you in your life. So something like this can also be imagined in the positive perspective, which can create a lot of generations, a lot of employment for creating everything which could be so personalized to you, and hence like photographs, these things will come as an emerging market tomorrow. We don't know, I'm just telling you out of the blue, but this can be an emerging market where instead of a photograph, a digital photograph, you have a 3D aspect of your beloveds, and they can come to you and talk to you whenever you feel like talking. So changing lifestyles and demand and young population, yes, that's how we are looking at it in India as within quotes. I'm not against the world anyway. So profile and the youth of India, it's a strong Indian ethos. We all come with a lot of India within us. We talk about, and that's where probably there is one question mark in everybody's mind, whether it's going to deal with us with a cultural heritage, will it be going to deal the way we think in terms of our festivals, details, the kind of relationship that we do, the kind of family setups that we have, is it going to change because of this? Yes, it's changing. The impact is felt by everyone here and there. Earlier the wish was more of a happy birthday on the phone. Now today it's a phone message. So things are changing because then everybody is getting used to the same way. So I think that's happening. Then we have the youth wants to contribute to the growth. I think there's a lot of energy in the generations today who are not waiting for the really +2 and the graduation to really work on. A lot of startups are coming up to understand, and what we did at 25, we thinking that's changing to 15 years. Today the 15 years is thinking what we thought as 25. On an average I'm talking about. So the change of the thought process in the numbers of years is also a very interesting thought that we need to really take it. I want to be in the world. Digital has literally any corners. You are there. If you are sitting in Patna today, I'm talking over here, probably people, so maybe live streaming can take me to Iceland. There's something like that which can happen. So you're there in the world. I'm digitally sold today. Something today, as a youth, even profession that we're talking about, any output that is there in the digital market. We are talking about a lot of online application, online visibility, everything. If you're not doing it, people say you are not visible, you're not there. So even the best of best have to really use this. People are only going to come to you only when they understand this equation that you are available online or somewhere in the space, which is digitally provided to the globe. So if you're not there, very difficult for people to really get associated with you today. So that's something, and I need more markets. I'm open to new concepts. Now there's the youth that we are talking about today, and we all, even at this stage, silently or actively, have been thinking in these lines, even during when we were growing up, when there was no internet, there was no web, there was no mobile, such a thing like that, and it's so easy to now connect with each other. So inclusive growth is what we need to really understand as in India, as a country. Even we are talking about general, we talked about modern, we are talking about now virtual. Everything has its own life cycle. We don't even know what's going to be next. But then still, to understand and appreciate that ChatGPT was worked 6 years back, and then today we are going to see, and we are all understanding and trying to explore and experiment. But ChatGPT may not change the way we think. It may provide you with the solutions, but then please understand the kind of employment opportunity that ChatGPT would have done to put in all the information in their database and in their servers. So then only you can get these things churned up. Otherwise, it's not going to be very easy. Somebody is putting those things. So the other aspect of it has to be really also appreciated. So emergence of one word does not hamper the existence of other. And this is something which I want to drive very strongly as an academician, that we also promote a lot of IT interface in our academic systems to understand what the world is moving around. And at any point of time, we do not disown it. We cannot disown it. It's not we do not disown it, we cannot disown it. So you cannot disown it, we have to really work that way and walk that path. There is no other path today to really understand if you're talking about big game theory and you're talking about the big way that you're going to really put your presence to. So the need of the industry will be there to challenge from different backgrounds, ideals, beliefs, abilities and ways of thinking. This is, even when we're talking to the audience over here, all these 5 components that I just mentioned, people will fit into these components very differently, what I think so. But then that's where we have to synergize to really place our thought process in the right direction and in the direction where the technology is going to be adopted. So when we all say this, there will be a definite inclination of more employment because everybody is thinking in the same direction. So inclusive process, yes. India at IT space, we are looking at something which we're looking at product and experience. Everything has become so personal today. One application for you may not be correct for me. So when it is not generalized, the million of population to be served by millions of people for such kind of a equation to do something and create something specific to you. And that is what we have seen. If I'm looking at a trade which are coming from apparel and textiles, the lockdown did impact the production part of it, but the new technologies which emerged out of to understand the kind of fabric or detailing that can be manufactured without human interface was also one of the big R&D which happened within those 2 years. And it picked up momentum across various countries, and the kind of collaborative knowledge sharing that happens in that space is mind-boggling. You will wear garments tomorrow which will change colors as per the lighting or the sunlight. I love the photographic lenses. Now there will be fabric in the market which will change colors based on the light intensity. I want to look at the way that we're talking about. So it's still in the glasses, it's going to be transformed on the fabric. So that's the beauty of technology, and somebody's working there, so yes. So the whole eco-crafted experience, it has to be within us. We cannot talk outside the boundary of where we operate upon. We are not talking about the space and research apart from we are talking about still this planet Earth and trying to understand how we really connect for a better system within the universe that we stay. And then we're talking about freshness in the system. Every time you buy a phone, for example, I'm just taking a phone as example, but that's our third hand. That's what I say in the class. Where's your third hand? So the third hand has become your mobile. You need that every time with you. Now, every time you buy a mobile, within 6 months there is a new version of it. There is an advanced version of it. So how do you really sustain with that older version, and how soon and how long you want to inch to buy that new one or updated one? There is a huge market, and that is why people are coming with new apps and new applications, and you cannot stop. So there is again a lot of potential in terms of understanding how we do it. And e-commerce and e-connect, I've used the word IT spindle. Spindle is something which is associated with us in terms of textiles and apparel, and that's how the weaving happens. So I think the entire technology fabric is going to really give us the garment, the IT, the kind of fabric that we are going to wear today will be more of technology driven rather than more of a manual driven and manufactured. Opportunities to ponder upon. Contemporary systems will be there. You cannot avoid it. Yes, in India it will take time. We cannot simply close doors to something which is already practiced, even in the remotest of villages or say Andaman Nicobar, and there will be there spaces there which will consume the pattern and practice the pattern which they are doing. You cannot change them. The energy should not be there to change everyone. The energy should be there for the new generation which is coming up, and to make them aware that, see, these are your options. We had options, medical engineering and a couple of more. Things have become so wide today, we don't even know where to guide our children to take up opportunities. There's such an immense plethora of opportunities today. I amazed at times when we are talking in terms of the industry that we cater to, the fashion textile. If Maruti as a company wants NIFT students to design seat covers so that it is dust proof, and waterproof and gives you maximum comfort. How does it work? There has to be something which, because I need to get into the seat, understanding of the seat, understanding the dynamics of the seat, in case of an accident, whether the fabric will go through that kind of pressure. So all these things where the technology really aids me into that. So there's a lot of add-on to super specialization, and which is a big area for future employment. We're talking about digital, yes, we're talking about newer resources, we're talking about local resources. We cannot do away with local resources, we need to really work on that. We're talking about intimate experiences, which I just shared a lot, and it's a limited luxury. Sitting at home, with the press of button, you switch off all the lights. That's how it is happening. And that's what we are aspiring to have. Even the switch industry is trying to give you something which is more of an AI introduced switch industry. So you enter it, you may say whatever you want to say, and by your command things are happening, you're not moving your hands and legs. So the question here is, that new element which has added new dimension to your life, there is somebody working behind it. So the entire myth of that it will reduce employment, I think that we really need to do away with. I strongly feel on that line. So industry as IT in India, it's grown, and it's grown. I won't say much on this because a lot was shared in terms of the number game that is happening in India and elsewhere, and the brain drain value and the number of people moving out of India after doing courses in India. Yes, that has been the legacy. It's not going to be changed. It cannot be changed because the aspiration value of individuals cannot be curtailed in terms of the ambition of the country aspect. And when we're talking global, and if India has to reach into different frontiers and corners, yes, that's the way. So one of the largest industry in the world, India's digital market is opening up a platform to Gen Z. And I think one of the when a couple of weeks back, I was going through certain articles which said that after post-COVID, the amount of freshers who are recruited by the industry, IT industry, is the largest among in the last so many years. The freshers or passed out may not be IT specific. So they want a student who has done geography to help them do an application for a map of India kind of a detailing, where you need to really help them to understand what are the contours, how do you really understand the physical and the political arena of the maps and the lines, so that can be translated to the partner who is working with the IT interface in such a manner that it can come to your application and you can use it. So there is again a lot of this. So we're talking about it brings in $33 billion, it changes every day. So this number will not be true when I say I think it would have changed. Yes, pandemic, it did really work on a big way. So to bring the idea of TECHADE to success, the key point of consideration should be the design principles that would ultimately shape that this decade enjoys India's own decade. Design principles, when I say, do understand whatever you see on the mobile has a design balance. There's a lot of color balance, there's a lot of color sensitivity, there's a lot of textual sensitivity. There's the way it is seen on your screen, which is say 4:3 or 5:6 or whatever. It's on your palm, you want to see it, the way it is positioned is a lot of design elements. So if institutions like NIFT and NIT, you may be surprised that a lot of IT firms do recruit students to do typo for them, the way text should appear for maximum appeal on the app. So the opportunity, there's new frontiers opening up for a design institution. So itself tells to the world that the opportunities are growing with technology at the background, at the base. I think so that's how it will work. So we need to really use the technology to impact, and it will be always human-centric. Nothing is, we talked about in terms of how we are adopting to newer technologies, but then it's a question of how we are. So it's going to be human-centric. It cannot be out of the blue that, oh, this is going to happen automatically, no. So even if you have today, when you drive down, even a RFID reader, something like this we never had earlier, or you have your barcode readers, or you have these fast tags, how has that really helped us? We really appreciate the way we move because it does not stop us anymore. So when you know that the time is money and this is going to be there, so eventually, I think a lot of employment opportunities for even the RFID tag builders. So there's going to be huge industry for an RFID tag building happening. So parallelly, there will be something which is going to happen again and again to even support the idea that I have maybe today and maybe tomorrow. So how will India conceive the idea of TECHADE? India is a hub of innovation. Right from Aryabhat till today, we are talking about, we have a lot of examples that we have set within the country, outside the country, Indians doing it outside the country. And as we say always that we find that there's a lot of CEOs, a lot of people who are heading different brands in US are Indians, and that's something which gives you that kind of a leverage that we can still play at any frontier across the globe. So the employment within India may not be the question that we are talking about. Are we Indians really looking for finding employment across the globe? And yes, why not? Today it's opening up, and if India can send a lot of people, and I would not really understand as a brain drain anymore. It's basically sharing your expertise with other countries to bring them on board. A small example at this place, we all use Swiggy, Zomato today. It's become such a friendly understanding. But do we know that the platform that Swiggy and Zomato has used has always been translated to so many countries? They have really adopted this, and there is a huge background industry set up in India to support this kind of requirements across the globe. So it can be IT centric, but again, there's somebody who's creating that Swiggy logo. Swiggy logo will be a creative guy. It will not be an IT guy doing it, because the color, the way it has to be written, the shape and everything. So it's very interesting when you look at it. So, and that's why the next line says it's not secondary. It's always the front offices. We are there at the front. We are not there at the back as the second or third level. We're not call centers anymore. India is not anymore call centers. Well, that's a huge leap we have gone ahead from. So the collective ability to move the technology potential. We're looking also as the way India is actually empowering the security, the safety, the health, the mechanism. We understood that the kind of opportunity that medical fraternity had during COVID and how they could really relate with each other to fight and save the country, it itself was a lot of an IT application happening elsewhere. So people behind. Thank you. So sustainability and employment design, that's something which people say in the IT world, you need to really be up your toes every time. Up your toes for learning new aspects that is coming up, and we really get into that kind of understanding that if you don't learn faster, you perish faster. And that's going to be the word that we need to understand, and if we accept it, I think we go a long way. R&D, we have 2.7 million, I've said, Indian immigrants in the US. I've used the word immigrants, I've not even said green card holders or this, something. Why? Because they will not find long-term journey, that they'll come back somewhere or other, give back to the nation. So trends towards growth, I have said in different ways. We need to have digital, we need to move. We're talking about climate change because of this. We have to touch all the aspects when we talk of technology and employment. So the kind of power generation units have now been customized or digitized. You have now digital electric meters. The question of why it was a need. So if there was an analog meter, electric meters at home, why did it go digital? So there is always an understanding that we need to look at our homes and then come forward. So India has played a decisive role and is serving, and I think the number of institutions which have come up to serve, we hear at times that a lot of engineering colleges have come up, but there is no employment opportunity, the students are sitting. It's not the question of finding what government is giving, it's also about understanding what I can give back as a startup, as a thing. So that mindset has to really change in India in terms of the opportunities that an individual can create. And this digital platform, even if I'm in any corner of the country, can give me that learning curve to bring back that knowledge. And use it at my ground where I'm operating from. So it's not necessary that I have to travel across, it's no longer expensive that way. So if anybody says today that we don't have that opportunity, it would be wrong today. You have an opportunity, you have to, instead of going 5,000 kilometers, you have to only go 10, 20, 30, 50 kilometers, and you will have an access to something which is still not in your control. So we are doing the redrawing of the future, yes. That's what I said. ChatGPT, I've coined this. ChatGPT seems to be getting painted as a panache to all the problems. Let not be overly jealous. Indeed, the possibilities and opportunities for a lot of left brain AI. It's a lot of, again, a concept of business models, left brain AI, which we all do, where all the marketing gimmicks keep on happening and how they really plant it. Induced solutions are immense. Post-COVID we are living, I just want to read a couple of lines which I've just coined for this presentation. We are living in interesting times. The world around us is undergoing tectonic changes post-COVID and post the recent Russia-Ukraine conflict. We are living the conflict. We can see what happened in Israel, Syria. We can feel the earthquake sitting in Patna. Now, that global mobilization is something which technology, and you cannot understand today that certain things are not happening. So there is a television person streaming it, there is an employment from the media, there is an employment from somebody who's broadcasting, somebody who's working on the satellite. So look at the kind of value chain that the entire system is there till it comes to your screen, whichever format in which you are seeing it. So we need to really understand the skilling part as in India. The challenges that we've seen is immense. So the challenge with India would be, how do we really skill these people to understand and at least make them aware? A lot of challenges about the awareness that India has to pass on to the people who are not so well digitally connected. And if we start doing that as a mainstream activity, I think a lot of things can come forward and solve issues which we all aspire to look as India as a country and to understand how India can become a superpower in years to come. So we looking at, I just said Gen Z is the buzzword today. We have to focus there. I think it's less that we need to focus on ourselves, it's more to focus on what the younger generation is going to look forward. Because today, the playtime for a toddler is a mobile phone, and that's what people say. Whatever the person, the toddler is crying, I've seen parents giving the mobile phone play. That's something which we are forcing the young one to understand that this is a better toy than a physical toy. So if you are training the mind at the younger time, when the brain can shape up till 6 to 7 years, and you're telling them this is a better toy, what the boy or a girl will grow up to understand. So the ecosystem in which he or she will grow will be more of screens and screen time, and online and offline interactions. And ChatGPT, how do we really handle? That's up to every individual or institution to handle, because it's already there, you cannot avoid it. The universities who have banned ChatGPT as a research to use it for research. But then if information which is set up and is available somewhere, we need to, as practitioners and academicians, we have issues at NIFT where students do the project and ChatGPT can come in right everywhere. But then the way they coin, if you find it out, it's not the way a student or the intellectual would coin. It is a combination of words which the IAI feels like the best suited, but it may not reflect the same essence. That's what I have seen. So I really understand ChatGPT still has to go a long way to really come foolproof as how we think. It could be an aid for giving you a value addition to start a project, but it will not be your end solution. So we still have to really get into that. So I don't see the employment getting down because of this. It's only an aid. And it's also, we need to look at it as a medium of resource where the resource itself is scanty at various locations. You don't have resource everywhere. So ChatGPT as a positive is for somebody who does not have reference material to be seen elsewhere, can refer to a ChatGPT to understand what the world is talking about, because everything coined there is from different corners of the globe. So yes, why not? So, yeah, this is there. So my time is getting up, so I'll just look at this. So for every dot pinged, you get a new seed of opportunity, sown with multifaceted directions of opportunity. That's where something which need to really drive down to the audience. Whatever we are thinking will give us a new branch, new leaf, new fruits. And yes, we cannot say it's cutting down the trees, it's adding more to the trees. So the new avatars of child collaborations, coordinations are finding a seat wherever you are doing. If we don't do ourselves, we feel at times the student comes up with an opportunity and says, oh, this is available, you're not aware. We are doing a virtual fashion show on the screens today. We are not spending money on the raw materials, we're cutting costs. And we're doing a 3D fashion shows across the globe. So if I'm doing it Patna, the people across the globe can see it and how the show is happening. So that's also now a very important segment as NIFT we practice. So this is something which is very interesting that when it was introduced and the training was happening, it was like fantastic to understand. So it may not look real, but yes, on the virtual board, everything will be less of emotion, more of a linear presentations of how it works in our dynamics. So, opportunities towards the sector, I have elaborated, not going through this. Closing thoughts, as one of the world's most successful industries, this is a long way to achieve, this has a long way to go to achieve the unseen. We don't even know refer back 10 years, what we are presently availing and achieving and appreciating was not there 10 years back. We never visualized it that way. So we cannot say what will happen in next 10, next 5 years. What's happening in the various R&D, such a secret mission, because of the IPR and the creative and the issues, we really don't know how it's going to really come forward. So mainstreaming brands, the industry is beginning to lay groundwork for a wider, less wasteful future. It's a very important word, less wasteful future. I'm going to impress upon. You can decide very fast where you want to go. And maybe the opportunities are big, so you may get confused, but then it still gets you a dimension of at least understanding the unseen before you really go and follow that pathway. So it's a massive challenge, but it's also a massive opportunity for the innovation in this fact space. It's a huge fact space. The kind of, it's gone beyond. So with these words, I feel again that the kind of information that I could share, there is a lot I said which cannot be dealt within this the time span. It's such a huge, interesting topic that you can go on debating and cross-checking and talking and again. This is something which, and if you can take back home a couple of things and thoughts that I've shared, I'll be more honored. And my mail ID is available in case we need to really deliberate it further and understand certain dynamics. We are looking forward for certain kind of interactions as an academician. Yes. So thank you for having me, having a patient list of wonderful audience. Thank you for bearing with me, and thank you for calling me here today to share the thoughts that I have just done. Thanks a lot.
It is such an honor to be amongst so many wise and faith-filled people. It's been a pleasure getting to know some of you, and I so look forward to continuing to do so. I believe that there is huge opportunity for growth with the youth wing. We had a meeting last Saturday, and a group of us met via Zoom from all over the world. I am pleased to inform you that it is a very energized and passionate group of individuals. Similarly to myself, we all felt as though the Jesuits have given us so much, so many opportunities to grow and to develop into the people that we are today, embodying Cura Personalis. So now the question is, how do we give back? During the meeting, we brainstormed ideas on how to accomplish our goal. Our goal is to get more young alumni involved. we have decided that it would be most effective and efficient to take 2 weeks to put down our ideas on a document answering these questions. What is our mission? And what is our vision? In addition, we are also going to be identifying what other Jesuit organizations are currently in our cities. What are they doing, and how are they successful? Father Sosa in Barcelona addressed alumni at the Global Conference last summer, and he has strongly endorsed Luja's model of establishing city clubs around the world to support Jesuit ministries. India was not built in a day, and neither is the youth wing, but we will be working very hard and working together. Yesterday, during one of the talks, we were reminded that our Jesuit education calls us to think critically, to think for the good, and to ask ourselves, what can we do? And the Wuja Youth Wing is in the process of doing just that. Thank you.
Let's reinforce that if you're not reinforcing the need of technology plus design from the at the early stage of the kids, things will not change. So while we are engaging with the kids, let's be more responsible with the technology and the engagement with it. So that will be lovely. Yes, I hope you have the mic with you. Yeah.
Hello, I had one question in the previous discussion. I actually wanted to put it even in that, but since I already had posed 2 questions, I kept it for this. And you haven't touched on that, but I hope you will be able to. We have been talking about digital transactions and UPI going to international market and bitcoins and everything. There is one thing which has come up, which is e-rupee. How is it different from the ones which we are still in use, and how is it going to change the future?
I think that expertise could be there for digital transformation of commercial value.
So would you like to add up anything on this, Utpal?
The details of the Indian, all these things, right? Because I don't stay here. So I can't sitting in between. So forget about the e-rupee for a second, right? But it's the same concept as Bitcoin. The governments are trying to come up with their own currency in order to counter the private sector, right? But the digital or coins or currencies built on blockchain will not have any intermediaries in between. What that means is that if you think about US dollars, right? The Federal Reserve Bank is standing in the middle doing those transactions between parties, between the banks and all that. Same thing with all of the central banks, right? In the respective currencies, the central banks are sitting in between. And that has its own, overload on the system, the timing it takes, and the amount, the cost that it has, and all those things that come along with that, the baggage that comes along with that. Bitcoin takes all that away, or blockchain technology removes the intermediaries, and that means in order for me to send you something, in this case money, but blockchain can be used for anything, right? It can be expanded to do anything. I don't need anybody to be sitting in between, right? Today when you're buying a house, you need an escrow or a lawyer and a bunch of other people sitting in between to do the transaction, because you and I don't trust each other. With blockchain, that trust, you won't need an intermediary because that trust will be built into the blockchain technology, right? And that means those intermediaries go away, everything is on blockchain, it becomes automated, it is faster, it is cheaper for everybody and things like that. That's why when you transfer money from Bitcoin from place A to place B today, it takes a fraction of a second to go. You have the money in the other account, as opposed to if I try to transfer money from US to India, it will take likely 3 days and all that, to go through all the central banks and everything. So that's the concept now. The e-rupee, similar to other central banks, they have to counter Bitcoin and other digital currencies which are coming up. And there are a lot of them, right? Bitcoin is there are probably others. Because if they don't, the dollar dominance, the rupee dominance, all of these will be challenged by these private currencies. If everybody, let's say majority of people, they start using Bitcoin as a currency, then the value of dollar is going to go down drastically, right? The import, export, all the dollar dominance is going to go away. Similarly, in India, the value of rupee will fall. The government will lose control on all of those transactions as well. It will become very hard for the government to regulate. So it has another side as well. It will become very hard to regulate and all that. So government is trying to create that e-rupee concept, saying, it's going to be built on the same technology. But if the government is still sitting in the middle, then the intermediary hasn't been taken away. So I don't know how exactly that e-rupee concept will work, but generally that's what is happening. Thank you.